Ain't nothing better than watching you smile. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ain't nothing better than watching you laugh out loud, my baby. Ain't nothing better than watching you be you. Ain't nothing better than right now. In your eyes lie the secrets I don't wanna miss. Put your hand.
I told you he'd come. Wait, you could die. At least tell me your name. It's not in where I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. Bruce? Hi, this is Trey Passer, and this is my video response to Robyn176's top 10 list of superhero films. Thank you, Robyn, for doing this. I love you and do these idea things, you know, these top 10 lists. Okay, it gives me a chance to make a video, of course, and I'm a big ham, so thank you for that. Anyway, you came up with a great list of top 10 superhero movies. I love your list, and there were a few movies on there like The Losers, which I've heard of the movie The Loser, but I haven't seen it. And I know that scene you're talking about with Chris Evans and the gun, pretending he has a gun. Because I think I saw that in like in a preview or something. But I think I even have that movie The Losers, which I gotta watch it, which is another thing I gotta break out of the habit. I have movies that I haven't watched yet. But anyway, I made up my list. I was mostly at work. I was trying to figure it out when I had time in between breaks, and I wrote it down. The list, because and putting it in order, of course, which is always hard. But okay, here we go. This is my top 10 superhero movies. Okay, number 10, Thor. This movie, of course, came out, I think, the same year Captain America came out, starring Chris Hemsworth, of course, Tom Hiddleston as Loki. What's his name? I'm trying to blank on his name. Anthony Hopkins, of course, is Odin. Of course, about the arrogant god, Thor, who had to be taught humility, sent to Earth because he was he wasn't humble enough. He was too arrogant and prideful. So Odin banished him to Earth and stripped him of his powers. Okay. Now, of course, I'm a big comic book fan, of course, so I knew, the backstory of Thor. And when this movie was coming out, I was worried about it because, in the comic books, of course, Thor has an alternate identity, of course, of Donald Blake. For those who read the comics, they know his, his alternate identity of Donald Blake, and I was wondering how they would do that. But I like the way they set up the movie, and like I said, I love the performances, especially, Chris Hemsworth was a great Thor. The only other time that I saw him prior to that, of course, was he's practically unrecognizable as Kirk's father in the Star Trek reboot, of course. But he was perfect for this role as Thor in this movie. He was arrogant when he had to be. I love the beginning scene when he goes to and he fights the frost giants. He goes with and he fights the frost giants. I thought he was just fantastic. I love that sequence when he fights the frost giants, and I love the scene when he comes back and Odin basically banishes him and strips him of his powers and sends him to Earth, hurls him to Earth. I love that whole setup, and like I said, and Tom Hiddleston was great as Loki. Like I said, I had never heard of him prior to this movie, but Tom Hiddleston is just a great actor and made a great Loki. And I love the whole movie. I love the whole fish out of water thing too, especially the scene you see him when he's in a diner drinking the coffee. He says, "This is great. Can I have another?" That was great, and I love where he finally got taught humility and willing to sacrifice himself. Basically, he gave his life to save the people from the destroyer, of course, and then he gets of course the hammer gets sent back to him. He's worthy now, so of course he gets his powers back, and then he has the confrontation with Loki. Okay, love that movie Thor. Like I said, I can't imagine anybody else playing Thor anymore now. Chris Hemsworth is Thor as far as I'm concerned. Okay, love that movie Thor. Okay, number 9 on my list is The Crow, of course, starring Brandon Lee. As I remember when this movie came out, Brandon Lee did one other movie before that. I can't remember the name of the movie with Powers Booth. I can't remember the name of that movie. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, The Crow, about a guy that got killed. Him and his fiance got murdered on their wedding day by this gang, and he comes back and I forgot that there's a great line which I can't remember about if wrong is right, a crow will appear to help you right the wrong. I forgot the way it goes, but it's just this great saying which I can't say I totally screwed up. But I absolutely love the crow, the whole look. And Brandon Lee, it is a shame that he died because you could just tell from this movie he had charisma and he would have probably been a big action star, had he lived. Tragically, he passed away during the filming of this movie. But this movie is a great legacy. He was just absolutely fantastic in this movie, and I love the scene towards the end where he basically grabs the the head bad guy and just basically said here, and he gives him basically all the bad things that happened to him. He basically touches him and just blows his mind with all the bad images and stuff. That's just great, and I love The Crow. It's just a fantastic movie. Okay, Brandon Lee, props to you. Okay, and number 8 on my list, of course, is the Iron Man. Okay, Robert Downey Jr., of course, and Gwyneth Paltrow. Robert Downey Jr. was basically born to play Tony Stark. I could never have a character and an actor been merged together so perfectly. Okay, Robert Downey Jr. was just absolutely perfect. I knew he could act because I'd seen him perform in other movies, Less Than Zero, which I thought he was fantastic in, and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He was just a great actor, but he had his little troubles off screen and stuff. But he finally straightened his life out, and this part was just absolutely perfect for him. He was arrogant when he had to be, prideful, of course, and of course ultimately became a hero. And like I said, what more can you say about Robert Downey Jr.? He owns this role of Tony Stark. He's just absolutely perfect. And like I said, I like this movie, the originals, better than the second movie. The second movie wasn't as good, of course, and the third movie though looks good. The one that's going to come out, that's directed by Shane Black and written by Shane Black, coming out this year, looks to be a step up, and I have a really good feeling that it's going to be great. Okay, I just love the whole trailer for that. Okay, and number 7 on my list is Batman, the Tim Burton 1989 version. Like I said, I told the story before, but I'll tell it again. When this movie came out in 1989, I remember I was working at a different job than I am now, and me and my 2 friends, we got off work, I think at 4 o'clock or something, and we went to the movie theater. I think where we worked, we took the train there, and we got online. It was like an event when Batman came out in 1989. It was like a total event movie that everybody had to see. And I remember the line was like just insane. We got on the line. I think we waited on the line for like an hour, 2 hours maybe. We got our tickets for like the 8 o'clock show, and I remember going in, and it was such an anticipation. I think there were people even sitting in the aisle. Normally they don't let people sit in the aisles in a movie theater, because of case of fire or whatever. But they had people sitting actually in the aisles and standing up. That's how the movie was. Of course, was sold out. I think from like all the shows, and all the next shows. I think from like 8 o'clock till like midnight. All the shows were just sold out, and you had people actually standing up in the aisleways and stuff just to watch this movie. And boy, it did not disappoint. Tim Burton, I love the whole world he created, and like a lot of people, I had doubts when he picked Michael Keaton to be Batman. But when I saw that first image of Michael Keaton dressed up in the bat suit, it looked fantastic. And then of course you saw the movie, and Michael Keaton was absolutely perfect as Bruce Wayne Batman. He owned that part. And of course, what more can you say about Jack Nicholson? He was scary good. He was just absolutely fantastic. And that first scene where he after he's fallen into the vat of acid, and he comes back to basically to kill his boss who conspired to kill him over a woman. A woman! You must be insane. That was just absolutely fantastic, and just a perfect movie. Batman 1989 was just absolutely fantastic. Loved everything about it. Okay, now number 6. Okay, number 6 on my list is The Watchmen. Okay, this is a movie, of course, by Zack Snyder. Okay, this is based on the Alan Moore graphic novel. The film was set in an alternate history of 1985, where you had a group of retired heroes, or vigilantes, as the government call them. They investigated. They came basically out of retirement to investigate conspiracy when one of their own gets murdered. And I had never, I'm a big comic book. When growing up, I collected comics, traded comics, and everything else. but I never heard of the Alan Moore graphic novel, The Watchmen. I had never heard of it, and so when I went to see the movie, I didn't know anything about it, and the movie just basically it blew me away. The whole world Zack Snyder created, that alternate 1985, I think, where Nixon was president for like 30 years or something insane, and the United States was in the middle of a Cold War with the Soviet Union, and they had the clock down to the nuclear war, and it was just great. Had great characters. Dr. Manhattan, Silk Spectre 2, Owlman 2, Ozymandias, the comedian, and my favorite, Rorschach, played by Jackie Earle Haley, who I absolutely loved in this movie. He was absolutely fantastic in it. The whole world of this movie is just fantastic, and the big conspiracy that's involved in the movie, I don't want to tell you what the conspiracy was in the movie, but you have to see it. This movie, I was so mad that this movie didn't make enough money to make a sequel, because I thought this movie was absolutely fantastic. I love the whole world. I love the characters. I love the conspiracy. And like I said, I love Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach. Rorschach, I think I pronounced it right. I don't want to butcher that. He was fantastic. He owned that role. And he's my favorite Watchmen character. He owned that part. And I would definitely recommend people see that movie, The Watchmen. I have I have a steelbook of Watchmen, the German steelbook. I have the set that came out, the Blu-ray, the 4-disc set that came out. I have the Dr. Manhattan DVD one. I gotta get the Rorschach one, and I'm also gonna get the Play.com Watchmen steelbook. I absolutely love this movie, and I want to get the one that came with the owl ship. That one might be harder to get, but I absolutely love The Watchmen. It's just a great movie, and that's what I think that movie cost $300 is why I absolutely love Zack Snyder's movies. Okay, I just love his whole visual style. Okay, so Watchmen, definitely recommend it. And number 5, of course, is Captain America. This movie, of course, starred Chris Evans, Tommy Lee Jones, Haley Atwell. What I loved about this movie, and I think this movie came out the same year Thor came out, and why I thought Captain America was a better movie is just mainly because of Chris Evans' performance. I thought he was great as Steve Rogers. Like a lot of people, he was Human Torch before, and you thought, oh, why would they pick him to be Captain America? But he proved to me that he could, of course, he's an actor, of course, he could play different roles, and he owned the role of Steve Rogers. He was so earnest in the beginning of the movie, so earnest, and just wanted to contribute to the, war. Not, I think he said a line that, why should I do anything less? Like, I think his friend, Bucky asked him, why are you signing up? And he said, I want to contribute, because why should I expect to do anything less than other men are volunteering? Why should I do anything any less than them? He really truly wanted to help, and even though he was like the 98-pound weakling, but he still volunteered, and I think he kept getting 4F until finally he got accepted in. I'm trying to think the way it happened. I'm screwing his origin. Sorry. I know he kept getting rejected, and then he finally got accepted. And of course, he volunteered for this, for the Secret Soldier program, basically because the scientists believed in him, and he of course rewarded that by when he got the Super Soldier and became a totally new man, and became Captain America. And I just loved the whole 1940s, I love old Hollywood films, and this was basically, they showed all, the war in the 1940s and how Captain America was such a true patriot. And I think I even love that line where he tells the Red Skull, I'm just a guy from Brooklyn, okay? And I love Haley Atwell, love Tommy Lee Jones as the gruff, sergeant in the movie, and I just love Chris Evans' performance really sold me on this movie. He had an earnestness, that's a word, I think, is that a word? An earnestness about him that really touched me, and really, even that last, scene where he's going down in the ship, going down in the plane, and he knows basically that he's sacrificing himself, and he completely sold me on him as Captain America, and I loved him also in the other movie, which I'll talk about later. Okay, and so Captain America, definitely number 5, great movie. I really love that one. And number 4 is Superman the movie. starring Christopher Reeve. Again, this was a movie. I think I was. How old was I? I'm trying to date myself. I was a preteen, I think, when it came out. But anyway, Christopher Reeve. I absolutely love Superman. I remember when you start hearing, you start seeing the posters that were hanging up all over the city and stuff, and then you saw that first shot of Christopher Reeve. Because I was a big, fan of Superman. I loved the TV show with George Reeves. I was a big fan of that show. I used to watch that all the time. It used to come on Channel 9, I believe, in New York City. So I was a big fan of Superman. And then when this movie was coming out, like I said, this was an event because you had all these great stars in it. You had Gene Hackman, Marlon Brando, what's his name? Glenn Ford. Who else? Gene Hackman, Marlon Brando, Jackie Cooper, Perry White, and then of course young Christopher Reeve, who was absolutely perfect as Clark Kent Superman. He had it was the look and even the way he acted, this bumbling Clark Kent, and then it's stand-up Superman. And I love one of my favorite scenes in that movie is when young Clark visits the Fortress of Solitude when he he throws the thing, I forgot what you call it, the crystal, and the Fortress of Solitude opens up, and then he meets Jor-El for the first time, and he explains to him how he came from Krypton and everything else, and how he sent him to Earth. They're great people. They wish to be, and for that reason alone, I send them you, my only son. And then you see that first shot of Christopher Reeve in the suit, and then he just takes off and just flies, and it's like perfect. And I absolutely love this movie, and I love Christopher Reeve as Superman. Superman, the movie it's just like Batman in 1989. It was an event, and I absolutely love Christopher Reeve as Superman. That movie was just so great. And I love that iconic image of him, that image of him flying there. And I love, at the end when Lois Lane, after he's saving the world, and of course Lois Lane dies, and of course, as a little kid, you go, oh my gosh, she dies, and then you feel his pain when he pulls her out and she's dead, and then he goes nuts and basically spins around the world. No, he goes nuts flying first, and then he starts hearing his father, Jor-El telling him, "You're not allowed to interfere in human history." And then he thinks about when Jonathan Clinton died, he had all these powers and he couldn't save him. He hears all these voices in his head, and then that's when he just goes nuts and basically circles the earth and reverses time. So Lois is not dead, and I love everything about that. Okay, so Superman the movie, number 4 on my list. Okay, number 3 on my list, X-Men 2. Of course, I was a big X-Men fan growing up. Read the comic books, John Byrne, Terry Austin, Chris Claremont. Used to always read those comic books, when it came out. Big fan of the X-Men. So when they were making a movie, of course, in the original X-Men movie wasn't, it was okay. It was decent. It wasn't everything you would hope it would be. But X2 ratcheted it up to another level. This movie is X-Men go out into the world. I think somebody said that in one of the reviews of X-Men go out into the world. Basically, this movie is, Magneto's is captured. Magneto's he's captured. And of course, the school gets invaded. Okay, the X-Men get separated. Nightcrawler, you have that great opening sequence when Nightcrawler basically, he's drugged, of course, and he comes within an inch of killing the president. And that opening sequence of him, bamping from place to place and just taking out Secret Service guys, absolutely fantastic. And then Wolverine, one of the greatest scenes when Wolverine goes berserker, he goes this berserker race in the mansion on those operatives, and it's a fantastic sequence. Okay, where he just goes absolutely batshit crazy. Okay, and then you have that great scene where Rogue gets, I think she gets basically, she's falling out of the plane, and Nightcrawler basically vanishes, bamps out, grabs her, and bamps right back. And I actually loved, and then the scene where Storm, she basically, when she goes to her and Nightcrawler go to rescue the professor, and she basically freezes up. I forgot the kid name. It's Proteus. That's the character's name in the comic book. I forgot what they call Jason. and I think they call him in the movie, but Proteus is what the character's name in the comic books is. Okay, and I love the scene where basically Jean Grey's fighting Cyclops, a hypnotized Cyclops, and they're having a little battle and stuff. That was great, and of course Wolverine, him and his fight against against Deathstrike, that was fantastic. And I even love the scene, at the end where they, all the X-Men are rushing back and they get back on the plane, and of course Jean makes that decision to go back, of course, and that, when she's holding back the water, and of course the X-Men, figure out that, that she's gone, and they try to save her, but she stops them from going, and of course she dies, and it's just a fantastic movie. Hit all the emotional spots in this movie. It's great. X-Men out into the world. I forgot the other sequence I love, where they go to Bobby's parents' house and they have that little where Pyro goes nuts shooting fireballs at the cops. That's great. And Wolverine gets shot with a bullet. That's great. And this movie is just absolutely perfect. Okay, I love X2. And it had the great ending with the Phoenix story that you thought was going to happen next week, but they, Bryan Singer left and they totally screwed up the Phoenix story in X3. That abomination of a movie, which I absolutely can't stand. Okay, ugh. But X2, fantastic. Okay, number 2 on my list, of course, is the Avengers. Of course, this was a fantastic movie. The perfect, like I know people have said this before, and I'll say it again, the perfect popcorn movie. The lead up, they did all the individual movies, and then they conspired and put them together in one movie. And Joss Whedon, creator of Buffy, Firefly. He was the perfect guy to do this because he wrote and directed this, and he gave everybody a moment to shine in this movie. And the story, the conflict, I love the fight between Hulk and Thor, which I tend to forget sometimes, but that fight they had on the helicarrier, Hulk and Thor had that fight when the whole when Loki Jesus Christ, I forgot. Yeah, when Loki basically he gets the Hulk basically to Hulk out. He gets him mad enough where and then all chaos happens and stuff with the ship, and then he hypnotizes Hawkeye. And then I love the scene where Captain America goes to Germany, him, Black Widow, and Iron Man, and then the fight between Thor and Iron Man in the woods was absolutely fantastic. I love that. Okay, and I love Robert Downey Jr. Of course was fantastic. Of course, it's Tony Stark, Iron Man, him, and then of course you see where he makes the ultimate sacrifice to get rid of the nuke. Okay, and I love that whole sequence in New York, I think, which lasts for like 40 minutes, the last part of the movie, where they have the sequence where they come together, and I love that shot. Nothing beats that shot. That is like the ultimate super, like a comic book come to life. That shot of that pan around when you see all the heroes, back to back, getting ready to fight the menace. Absolutely fantastic. And the Hulk, what more can you say? He was absolutely fantastic. And that fight, the smackdown of Loki will never not be funny. Okay, that scene will always be funny. Okay, it will never not be funny. Okay, and even like I said, even the only person I think that really get a moment to shine, a really good moment, maybe they'll do it in the sequels, maybe Hawkeye. Black Widow had a moment to shine. Captain America, when he's organizing everybody, getting everybody together. Iron Man, of course, when he makes the ultimate sacrifice. The Hulk, smashing everything. The fight with Thor, Thor, of course, the fight with the Hulk, the fight with Iron Man, at the end, helping at the end. Just great. And even in Loki, Tom Hiddleston, again, as Loki, was absolutely fantastic. You could just tell he was absolutely loving, even spitting out those lines. He was absolutely fantastically evil, okay? And, of course, Samuel L. Jackson is, Nick Fury. Of course, he was great. And so that leads me up to number 1, of course, which, of course, like Robin, like your list, is going to be the Dark Knight trilogy. Okay, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. I love this whole trilogy of movies, Christopher Nolan. After the abomination that was Batman and Robin, thank God. I love, and my favorite is still going to be Batman Begins. I know a lot of people like Dark Knight Rises too. I like that way, and I like the way it ended and everything else, but Batman Begins is going to still be my favorite, mainly because it's Bruce's story, and it's Bruce's story told right. Okay, they show him going off, after his parents' death, him being an angry young man, him leaving, Gotham and going out into the world to learn how to fight crime and stuff, and meeting Ra's al Ghul, that whole sequence, getting the training, and coming back to Gotham. His first, and what I love, his first appearance is Batman. That is just classic. I love the way that was shot. And I know a lot of people bitch about the fights in Batman, you know, saying Christopher Nolan doesn't know how to shoot a fight sequence. But I absolutely love his first appearance, where he just basically, you know, drops in like a silent assassin, takes out the men, you know, grabs, you know, the mob boss and headbutts him, saying, "I'm Batman," and just flies, you know, just rises up. Everything about that is great, and you know him, you know, the confrontation with Ra's al Ghul on the, you know, on playing Scarecrow, Cillian Murphy, who was absolutely fantastic as the Scarecrow. I thought he was absolutely gave one of the great performances, a great villain. Okay, and just everything. I love Christian Bale, his whole persona, and I love it had so many great quotable lines in the movie, which are, you know, which are great. Like, you know, it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. And just I loved everything about this movie. Like I said, it was just Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon, Morgan Freeman, okay, as Lucius Fox. It had a great cast. Michael Caine as Alfred, okay. Just everything about Batman Begins I absolutely love. And of course, The Dark Knight, which, you know, you can't say The Dark Knight without talking about Heath Ledger, who just was outstanding as the Joker. He took it to another level as the Joker. And what more can you say? And, you know, rest in peace, Heath Ledger. You gave like the performance of a lifetime. You and also Aaron Eckhart was great as Two-Face. You know, absolutely love that. And of course, the perfect ending, the Dark Knight trilogy, with the scary, scary Tom Hardy as Bane, and Anne Hathaway, who's just a fantastic actress, who was absolutely a lot better than I thought she was going to be as Catwoman. Okay, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I think was the heart of this film, is, you know, the beat cop, and John Blake. And I love, like I said, that first confrontation between Bane and Batman was absolutely scary, and you actually felt scared for Batman, okay? And of course, Batman making his comeback, getting broken, which I didn't think actually they were going to actually show him getting broken like that, but they did. And then him making his comeback to Gotham to confront Bane, and the whole sequence where the police, you know, Batman comes down in the bat and just shoots one of the tumblers, and then you see the police and the criminals run toward each other and just start fighting. And then, of course, you see that great shot of Batman and Bane in the crowd looking at each other, looking for each other. And then they, you know, and Bane goes, "You came back to damage your city." "No, I came back to stop you." And then they start the fight. And of course, the only thing that, you know, the Ty Al Ghul part, of course, it was totally predictable, but that stopped me from loving this movie, of course. And then I love the other scene where he gets ready to fly off with the bomb, and Commissioner Gordon asks him who is he, and he basically tells him who he is by not telling him, but telling him, thanking him for making a young boy not feel like his world was ending, okay. And then of course he figured out that he is Bruce Wayne, and he flies off. And then I love the, you know, when Alfred comes back at the funeral, and he thinks that he let Bruce down, and he's, you know, he's crying, he's breaking down. And then you see the scene of him in Italy, I think, and then you see that great shot of Bruce and Selina together, happy, and there it is. Bruce gets his happy ending, which I absolutely love. This brought a smile to my face, that Bruce actually got his happy ending, like he said in the first movie, that he was coming back to Gotham, you know, and Alfred asked him, "How long were you staying?" He said, "Long enough to make sure that the city doesn't belong to the criminal and the corrupt." And he got his perfect ending after he sacrificed everything, and he got his perfect ending, and he got to live happily. Okay, and then you got the great scene of John Blake, you know, discovering the Batcave, and perfect ending. I absolutely love that. So that's my top 10 superhero movies. I think that went a little long, so almost 30 minutes. Sorry about that, but I wanted to be thorough. Okay, so thank you, Robyn. I'll leave a link to Robyn's channel to the video. You can sub to her. She's a great fellow YouTuber from the UK. And this is Trey Passer saying so long and take care.